The last train to you. It was 11:48 p.m. on a cold Friday night in Chicago. The city was almost asleep, but Noah Bennett was still sitting alone on a train platform, staring at the tracks. He had missed the last train home, or at least that's what he thought. Then he heard footsteps. A young woman came running down the platform, holding a small bouquet of white flowers. She stopped beside him, trying to catch her breath. "Did I miss the train?" Noah looked at the empty tracks. Not yet. She smiled with relief and sat beside him. Her name was Emma. For a few minutes they said nothing. Then Emma looked at the flowers in her hands. They were supposed to be for someone special. She smiled sadly. They were. Noah didn't ask more. Sometimes strangers don't need explanations. They just need someone willing to listen. A few minutes later, the train arrived. Emma stood up. "Thank you for keeping me company." Noah smiled. "Maybe I'll see you again." She looked at him. "Maybe." Then she stepped onto the train. As the doors began to close, one of the flowers slipped from her bouquet and fell onto the platform. Noah picked it up. Emma saw him through the window. She smiled. The train disappeared into the darkness. Noah thought that was the end. He was wrong. The next Friday night, Noah returned to the same platform. He didn't know why. Maybe he was hoping. Maybe he was just curious. But at exactly 11:48 p.m., Emma appeared. This time, she wasn't carrying flowers. She was holding 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Noah. "I thought you might be here." Noah smiled. "I was hoping you would be." From that night on, every Friday at 11:48 p.m., they met at the same platform. Sometimes they talked for hours. Sometimes they simply sat beside each other. Emma told Noah about her dream of becoming a writer. Noah told her that he had once wanted to become a musician, but had given up after his father passed away. Emma always told him, "Maybe you didn't stop dreaming. Maybe you just forgot how." Slowly, they became friends, then best friends, and without realizing it, they became something more. One winter evening, snow began falling over Chicago. Emma leaned her head against Noah's shoulder. "Do you ever think about how strange life is?" Noah smiled. "How?" "If I had arrived 30 seconds earlier that night, I would have caught the train." "And we would never have met." Emma looked at him. "Exactly." Noah reached for her hand. "Maybe some delays are actually blessings." Emma smiled. Then she whispered, "Maybe you are mine." Noah looked into her eyes and kissed her beneath the falling snow. For the first time in years, Noah felt like he had found something worth staying for. But love doesn't always arrive without a test. 3 months later, Emma received an offer from a publishing company in New York. It was her dream. Her first novel had been accepted, but accepting the offer meant leaving Chicago, leaving Noah. That night, she told him at their usual train platform, "I have to go." Noah looked at her. "For how long?" "I don't know." She started crying. "I don't want to lose you." Noah held her hand. "You won't." "How can you be sure?" Because if two people can find each other at 11:48 on a Friday night, I think they can find each other anywhere." Emma smiled through her tears. The next morning, she left Chicago. For the first few weeks, they talked every night. Then the calls became shorter. Life became busy. Emma worked on her book. Noah started playing music again. Months passed. Then, one day, Noah received a package. Inside was Emma's first published book. On the first page was a handwritten message. "To the man I met because I missed a train." Below it, she had written, "You taught me that sometimes the most beautiful things happen when life doesn't go according to plan." Noah held the book against his chest, but something was missing. Emma. He missed her more than ever. Then, on a rainy Friday night, almost 1 year after she had left, Noah returned to the old train platform. It was 11:48 p.m. He sat on the same bench. He didn't expect anything. He simply wanted to remember. Then he heard footsteps. He looked up. Emma was standing there. She was holding 2 cups of coffee and smiling. Noah stood up slowly. "You came back?" Emma nodded. "I promised myself I would." He walked towards her. "How did you know I'd be here?" She smiled. "Because this is where our story began." Noah took her hand. "And where does it go now?" Emma looked into his eyes. "Wherever you are." Noah smiled. "You mean it?" She nodded. "I spent a year chasing my dream. And I found it." She stepped closer. "Then I realized you were part of it." Noah pulled her into his arms. They stood there beneath the rain, holding each other as the city moved around them. A few minutes later, the train arrived. Emma looked at Noah. "Are you coming?" He smiled. "Where?" She held out her hand. "Home." Noah took it, and together they stepped onto the train. The doors closed behind them. As the city lights passed outside the window, Emma rested her head on Noah's shoulder. He whispered, "Do you remember the first night?" Emma smiled. "The flowers?" "The missed train." Noah laughed softly. "I think missing that train was the best mistake I ever made." Noah kissed her forehead. "Maybe it wasn't a mistake. What was it?" He looked into her eyes. "Maybe it was the moment life decided to bring you to me." Emma smiled, and as the train disappeared into the quiet Chicago night, they both knew something they had learned the hard way. Sometimes love doesn't arrive when you expect it. Sometimes it finds you while you're waiting for something else. Sometimes the person sitting beside you on an ordinary night becomes the reason you never want to be alone again. And sometimes the train you thought you missed was actually the train that was taking you home. The end.